Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a super frustrating problem. Fingernails peeling apart right at the tips. You know the drill, you look down at your hands and you're just totally defeated by these weak, flaking nails constantly catching on your clothes. Well, if that's you, you are in the exact right place. We're going to break down the exact mechanism of why this happens and how to actually fix it, relying entirely on real dermatological science. Let's get into it.
So why do the tips of your nails keep peeling apart? If you're constantly staring down at these thin, fragile layers just lifting off your fingernails, it's time to stop picking at them, for sure, and start asking what's really going wrong. Look, this is an incredibly common issue. It ruins manicures, it actually causes physical discomfort, and honestly, it's just annoying. You might think, oh, I just have bad genetics, or maybe you think you're doing something wrong at the nail salon. But the root cause is actually way more fascinating and totally treatable once we understand the underlying biology of your nail plate.
Okay, so here's our agenda for this explainer. First, 1. The peeling nail problem. Then 2. Hardener and vitamin myths. Next, 3. The science of onychoschizia. And finally, 4. Your daily healing routine. Basically, we're moving from the physical problem on your hands down to the microscopic science and landing on a highly practical routine you can start literally tonight.
All right, Section 1, the peeling nail problem, beyond the surface.
To successfully fix this, we have to know what's happening at the free edge of your nail. Clinically, this frustrating structural concern is called lamellar splitting. To really picture this, I want you to think of your nail not as one solid hard shield, but more like a delicate layered pastry made up of dozens of horizontal sheets of keratin. When you have this condition, those fragile sheets are separating and lifting away right at the tip. They are quite literally ungluing from one another.
Moving on to Section 2, Hardener and vitamin myths, what you're doing wrong.
Now, the most tragic part about this whole condition is that our gut reaction fixes usually make the peeling significantly worse. People see peeling nails and immediately think, I have an internal vitamin shortage, and they reach straight for those gummy supplements. But here's the thing, the tip of your nail is dead tissue. Eating a vitamin today is not going to magically fuse dead, separated layers back together. Even worse, a lot of folks reach for harsh chemical nail hardeners. But what your nails actually need isn't a stiff chemical shell. They desperately need restored internal hydration, sealing those fragile layers back together with lipid-rich emollients.
Let's talk about exactly why those chemical hardeners fail so miserably in the long run. They are packed with harsh chemicals, like formaldehyde. And sure, initially, they temporarily cross-link the proteins in your nail, which totally gives you the illusion of a quick fix, because the nail suddenly feels super stiff and strong. But structurally, oh man, that chemical reaction is severely drying out the nail plate from the inside. It completely strips out vital, natural moisture and rapidly accelerates the exact brittleness and horizontal splitting you were desperately trying to stop in the first place. It's a total backfire.
Which brings us to Section 3, the science of onychoschizia, the microscopic journey.
To understand what actually works, we need to look at the cellular level. Dermatological science proves that this condition, which is clinically called onychoschizia, is purely a dehydration injury. I repeat, it is not a nutritional deficit. It's caused entirely by repeated wetting and drying cycles. Think of it like water dissolving the mortar between a stack of bricks. The water physically disrupts the intercellular adhesive factors, basically your natural cellular glue that normally keeps your nail layers bound tight. Your everyday habits are acting as a sort of Trojan horse here. First, water floods the microscopic spaces between those horizontal keratin layers. As it seeps in, the keratin cells swell up with fluid, kind of like a sponge. And here is the critical failure point. That rushing water literally washes away the natural intercellular lipids. It rinses away your cellular glue. Then, step 4, as the nail dries, those swollen layers shrink back down, but they do it unevenly. Without that glue to hold everything together, the layers warp, they buckle, and they just lift apart.
Let's ground this right in the medical literature. Clinical sources clearly establish this as an environmental dystrophy. Because the constant hydration and dehydration is expanding and contracting that protein matrix, it constantly leaches out structural phospholipids. And that right there is exactly why dermatologists strongly urge us to abandon formal chemical hardeners. Instead, they recommend lipid-rich emollients to restore what they call elastic cohesion. Simply put, that just means giving your keratin sheets the flexible, hydrated strength they need to bend under pressure, without snapping, keeping them firmly bound together.
Okay, Section 4, your daily healing routine, restoring nail health. Now that we understand the medical reality, let's translate this science into a practical, dermatologist-backed daily routine. But before we can even begin to fix the damage, you absolutely must stop the repetitive wetting and drying cycle. This means no more washing the dishes barehanded after dinner, limiting prolonged exposure to swimming pools, and, for sure, you have to toss out those harsh acetone polish removers. If you keep flooding the nail plate with water and aggressive solvents, you're just going to continually wash away your natural cellular glue way faster than the nail has any chance to recover.
So how do we safely seal the layers back together? We use the cellular glue cure. Step 1, you have got to halt all manual peeling or picking at those loose edges immediately. Seriously, that only rips into healthy tissue. Step 2, introduce physical barriers like thick rubber gloves during absolutely all household water contact. And step 3, heavily saturate your nail tips daily with high-affinity biomimetic lipids. Think jojoba or squalane oil. By massaging these rich barrier oils deeply right into the split tips, you're replacing those lost intracellular lipids, which naturally glues the layers back together over time.
So armed with all this science, you've got to ask yourself, are you finally ready to abandon those damaging habits, toss the toxic chemical hardeners straight in the trash, and give your nails the true cellular hydration they desperately need? By protecting your natural lipid glue, you really can conquer lamella splitting for good. You know, the beauty industry wants you to buy a quick-fix armor, but true strength actually comes from deep, flexible hydration. So the question is, will you start your barrier repair today?